You guys are the real heroes. I should have been the flag bearer for American Olympics. Anyway, today we're talking about The Boys. I have a Homelander video before on the channel, and you guys were asking about my thoughts on Season 4, and let me tell you, I have some. By the time of this uploading, I think it'll have been around 2 weeks since the show finally ended for Season 4, and I've already seen a couple YouTubers talk about what they think, but in my opinion, I'm a little more critical about this season. Yes, I still liked it, but I thought it was by far the worst season of The Boys and the most filler. So today we're talking about a season of ups and downs. Let's get right into it. I'm not trying to waste anyone's time because I've got some milk to drink. And let's start with talking about the review bombing. I think that specifically the alt-right did about this season. Now, they were mad that the political commentary was too on the nose, something that we're going to talk about in a sec, but specifically how vilified Homelander was. Now, let me impart some wisdom onto you. Homelander has literally always been portrayed as evil. I don't know who needs to hear this, but fucking get it through your brain. He has done many things in the show. He's been a part of it for 4 seasons. In fact, you could argue that he's the main character. I'm gonna bring up 2 things that he's done. He has teamed up with a fucking Nazi and killed a politician and his son in cold blood in the first episode of the show. And some people still manage to think that he is the real hero. And if these 2 things don't mean anything to you because you're chronically online, socially inept, and or know nothing about history, Green Goblin, the villain from Spider-Man. He is indeed evil. There is legitimately a Green Goblin reference in the show. The man is a fucking loon. Now let's talk about the season itself. Starting with The Boys, Season 4, the bad. Because we're gonna end with the good, because you always want to end on a high note. And let me just say, in my Homelander video, I said that I always watch The Boys with my family. This is the first season where I watched either alone or with my friends, and let me tell you, good fucking thing. So my first gripe with the show is that it felt incredibly up and down. I could not, from episode to episode, figure out whether I really liked this season or disliked it. Because when the first episode came out and I watched it, I thought, wow, something feels different. This is not The Boys that I usually watch. And then episode 2 remedied that. Episode 3 put it in the shitter again. Episode 4 was dope. Episode 5, I don't even want to speak about, but you get the point. It's a sine wave, and shows like that just aren't as enjoyable to watch as consistent shows. Next up, we've got the acting. And this is not to say that The Boys was always a goated acting show with a star-studded cast. Now, don't get me wrong. Anthony Starr and Carl Urban as Billy Butcher and Homelander, absolutely stars of the show. They're amazing. But the rest of the cast feel very contrived. Especially Huey and Starlight, and especially their lack of fucking romantic chemistry. Outside of even just acting in the season, it felt like these 2 weren't a couple. Like, Starlight never gave a fuck about Huey being, spoilers, sexually assaulted. It just felt really strange. The actor for Frenchie, whose name escapes me right now, isn't acting like a mad scientist anymore. MM can't fucking act without being the tough guy with the lips. A lot of the acting just felt contrived. And listen, I'm not a director, I'm not a professional actor, I am a genius, so this is only going off of pure instinct. It just felt like the other seasons had better acting. Moving forward, the boys themselves were ridiculously stupid. In Season 1 especially, in Season 2 and in Season 3, the boys were a ragtag group of people who could make the best out of the worst situation. In Season 4, they made dog shit out of a bad situation. They just felt inept. Perhaps it's because Butcher isn't their leader anymore. Perhaps it's because MM is still fitting into those leading shoes. But every fucking thing that could go wrong when it did go wrong, the boys did not know what the fuck to do. They are inept. There's not much more to say. How the fuck did you fall from grace so hard? How did you manage to kill Translucent in Season 1 the way you did now and just fuck everything up in Season 4? It makes no sense. And it should go without saying, I'm not trying to spoil literally everything in the show, so if I'm being vague about some things, it's on purpose, but if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Then there were the subplots that no one cared for, and I'm gonna start by bringing up bisexual Frenchie. No, it's not a problem that he's bi, or gay. In fact, this has been alluded to. This has been foreshadowed from Season 1, where he was pegged by that Russian mob boss. I'm not mad about that. Minor spoilers, I'm mad about the fact that Frenchie gets together with a guy whose family he killed. The audience can only assume that's gonna end in one way. And guess fucking what? Of course it does. No shock value, no surprise, no good narrative. It was a dud. And I know some people really liked what they did with Huey's dad and Huey's mom and Huey himself, but I am not part of that camp. I thought the acting in those episodes was pretty mid, and the mom basically contributed fucking nothing narratively. The season definitely had a return to your past theme, but this with the father was completely unnecessary in my opinion, and they could have explored it in other ways. If Simon Pegg wanted out, that's fair, but Huey, again, not convincing. Subplots, meh. Furthermore, we've got shock value scenes that add nothing. Again, The Boys wasn't a show that was like super literally dense and super narratively dense. Yeah, it was always a shock value show, but this season in particular, it felt like that's all it was. There was no plot. There was no narrative. It's like I was watching the fucking back half of Naruto full of filler. Especially episode 5, which yes, it absolutely made me uncomfortable and everyone else watching, but you can add shock value while still having a good story and good narrative. And some of the other points that I've outlined here, for instance, the boys were ridiculously stupid and subplots that no one cared for, do not help the fact that shock value was completely thrust in our faces at all fucking points. This next one's pretty easy to talk about, so let's go through it fast. There was too much plot armor and a lot of things didn't make sense. To begin with, flying sheep, Victoria and Newman could have killed them all. Homelander killing Huey, how the fuck did he manage not to do that? He has X-ray vision, he has super senses, and Huey managed to crawl through a grate faster than Homelander could fucking snipe him. Also, Huey managed to not be discovered by Tech Knight. Are you fucking kidding me? I could have discovered Huey was in fucking Web Weaver's suit. This next thing isn't necessarily always a bad thing, but in the scope of this season I felt like it was. There was way too much predictability with plot resolution. For instance, the Frenchie Colin thing. Predictable. To be honest, Frenchie Kimiko, also predictable. The fact that Huey was cringe, Starlight was cringe, and MM held his mouth in that one specific way. That was all fucking predictable. It makes it feel like filler. And just a couple more things. First of all, just like the shock value thing, what is the obsession with weird sex shit? And it's not even just The Boys. I know sex sells, but when you add every fucking scene having to do something with some gruesome, grotesque sex, it just takes the shock value away. I know what's coming. I know a penis is gonna strangle someone. I know someone's gonna fucking fart on a cake. I know sexual assault will be there. I'm desensitized. Literally, all this sex talk is making me believe that the writers are like, oh, I bet this is what sex is like. This is what I want to have happen on this cake. Like, chill out. You can surprisingly write a really good story without so much sex. Especially the weird kind. And we talked slightly about the review bombing and having the political commentary be on the nose. Political commentary, in my opinion, the way they do it in this season is just lame. For instance, the president that they elect, I'm not going to say who it is in the season, isn't actually a character. It's just a plot device, as is every other politician in the show. The thing is, instead of adding characters that show the writers' political opinions, the writers just tell you their political opinions. People aren't that fucking stupid, man. What I mean to say is that you can add characters and write a narrative that shows your political opinion without just saying, this is what you should believe. And it's fine to make fun of the right in particular. Perhaps they even fucking deserve it. But the way you do it, you can do better, and we know you have. So overall, it just felt like filler, and it left kind of a sour taste in my mouth, even though I actually really enjoyed it and I watched it every fucking week. So let's talk about the good. And I want to reiterate this point, yes, it seems like I just shat on season 4, I still enjoyed it. I still think it's better TV than a lot of what's on air right now. It's just by far the weakest boys season, and it kind of pissed me off. Starting with Homelander and Butcher. Again, when they are on screen, they steal the show, their acting is incredible, and in my opinion, they've been carrying the boys for all 4 or 5 years now. This does not go away in this season, and it is a joy to watch them on the screen. And I just want to say, in light of recent events, the boys' writers are so lucky to be given ammunition for season 5. For instance, with the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Jesus Christ. Moving forward, I think the entire 7 was really good. The peak is fucking comedy gold. He is an idiot of a character. You want to see him lose. The acting, Chase Crawford, I don't know if you're actually an idiot in real life. I don't think you are, because this kind of acting doesn't come to idiots. But man, when you are on, you also steal the show. Sage was an incredible side character. Noir 2, funny, added comic relief, and Firecracker was just okay, but she also made some political commentary. See, in season 4, it felt like the 7 was much more critically important than the boys, and they were much more interesting to watch. I didn't need to see the subplots of Frenchie, Kimiko, and MM, and I wanted to see the 7. I mean, that probably speaks to props for the 7, but the boys could have been elevated a little higher. And continuing this train of thought, we had the A-Train redemption arc versus the Deep's descent into an evil idiot character. I never really thought that A-Train would be redeemed, but season 4 did it in a stellar way. They showed him off as a real character, they showed him off as a real human being, and they showed him off as a real hero. In particular, that one scene where he rescues MM, and a boy sees it. Meanwhile, the Deep, who's being egged on by Homelander, begins this descent into power and violence, and it's just a really nice juxtaposition between the two characters. Then we've got the Homeboy x Butcher x Ryan triangle. Definitely not a love triangle, but I did think it was the most interesting subplot in the season. And shout out to this kid, I think his name is Cameron. I mean, the acting was pretty good. Every time he's with Homelander, every time he's with Butcher, he feels like a different character. And props to you, man. It seems like you're going through puberty, your voice is changing, and you're still trying to kill it on the big screen. So man, round of applause. Interesting subplot. And I mentioned this in the 7th part, but the continuation of good side villains in The Boys continues with Sister Sage, the world's smartest human. Now, I think it's really tough to write a world's smartest human because you always think, wait, why the fuck didn't she think of this? And why didn't she think of that? And there's a lot of plot holes, there's a lot of hand-wavy things that you have to do, and you do have to do this in The Boys as well, but she's done well. Homelander needed a character like this. The boys needed to fight a villain like this, and she does it all well. Her reason for being evil is done well. I like when characters don't necessarily need a real reason to be evil other than, I could do it. And her acting was actually good for the character that she needed to be. Minor spoilers for this next point though. We have Jeffrey Dean Morgan and then we have Butcher. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan was a character that was very heavily theorized, that was just in Butcher's head. Everyone kind of predicted it. It turned out to be the case, but the reveal was fucking good. That's how you do a reveal of something that is already known by the audience. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan is a good enough actor to elevate Butcher into more of a threat than Homelander, which makes very interesting implications for season 5, so congratulations for that. And then this last point is a bigger one. The last half of the last episode was really fucking good, even the entire last episode, but it set up season 5 really well, and it got me hyped for season 5 in a way that the other episodes didn't. It was intense, there was intrigue, it was a cliffhanger, it was just overall a good season finale. Unfortunately, it couldn't elevate the entire season for me because that fucking wouldn't be fair. There's 8 episodes, and if 7 of them were, it's good TV, and only one of them was like, wow, this is really good, no. It's no Better Call Saul. So in conclusion, what can we say about The Boys season 4? The Boys has been one of my favorite shows for a while, so yes, while I am shitting on it in part, I still like it. Surprisingly, you can do both, especially if I thought that season 4 felt like it was by far the weakest season. There was an inconsistent plot, characters that felt flat, boring storylines, and overall, it just felt like filler. So when you have a season like this, regardless of the last episode, I'm hoping that season 5 is great, but I'm losing faith. And I'm really hoping that the writers don't make the same mistakes that they made in this season. I don't know why I keep bringing this up, it just stuck out to me. The acting has never been God tier, but this just felt worse. I don't know if the fame got to them. I don't know if they are trying less. I don't know if they think they're gonna succeed no matter what. Little contrived, little cringe. I'm just gonna put that out there. If you need a substitution for fucking Soldier Boy, I'll do it. Fuck it. Yeah, as much as I'd like to be Soldier Boy, Jensen Ackles actually did a really good job. Yeah, fuck. So all I can say for the boys and the writers, cool your jets about all these things. Just try to make an enjoyable story within each episode. It doesn't all have to be sex. It doesn't all have to be shock value. Please don't make it all filler. That's all I'm asking for. Season 5 is gonna be good. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, or Jeffrey Dean Morgan's gonna kill your ass. Let me know what you thought about The Boys Season 4 down below. Are any of my takes L's or any of my takes W's for the first time in my fucking life? I don't know. This was just my honest opinion. I've let it sit and simmer for a little bit. I did think it was the worst season, but yes, again, it's still good TV. Let me know who your favorite characters was, what your favorite moment was, what your predictions are for Season 5. And if you have any other suggestions for future videos, leave those in the comments down below as well. Any games, series, characters, online websites we can visit, I'll do it all for you. You're looking incredibly sexy if your name is Carl and or Anthony. Until next time, I love you. Goodbye.